Even without James Harden, the Houston Rockets have enough shooters to be a huge threat from beyond the arc. The Rockets were close to breaking the NBA record of most three-pointers made in a game. Houston made 28 three-pointers against OKC, which was a single three-pointer away from the NBA record set by the Milwaukee Bucks. 10 players had at least one three-pointer for Houston. DeMarcus Cousins and Eric Gordon had the most with 5 three-pointers apiece. John Wall and Derrick House Jr. each made 4 threes. This was the 6th straight win for the Rockets. With 10 wins and 9 losses, they tied the Portland Trail Blazers for the 8th spot in the Western Conference. Houston plays Oklahoma City again in 2 days. Punxsutawney, there will be 6 more weeks of winter, Punxsutawney Phil predicted as he emerged from his burrow on a snowy Tuesday morning to perform his Groundhog Day duties. One of the members of Phil's inner circle spoke before his prediction was revealed, noting that it's been a unique year. People have been referencing Groundhog Day. It has felt like at times we're all living the same day over and over again, one of the members said. Groundhog Day also shows us that the monotony ends. The cycle will be broken. Today actually is Groundhog Day, there's only one, he added. There is quite literally a new day coming over the horizon. The spectacle that is Groundhog Day at Gobbler's Knob in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, still went on, but because of the coronavirus pandemic, revelers weren't able to see him and celebrate in person. This year, it's all virtual. A livestream, which had more than 15,000 viewers at one point, played footage from previous Groundhog Days ahead of the big reveal. Then of course, the prognosticator of prognosticators, assisted by his inner circle, emerged at dawn. The lore goes that if he sees his shadow as he did this year, there will be 6 more weeks of winter. If he doesn't, spring comes early. The livestream from Gobbler's Knob, a tiny hill just outside Punxsutawney about 65 miles northeast of Pittsburgh, is made possible by the Pennsylvania Tourism Office's Holy Stay PA. The event there, always February 2nd, dates back to 1887. Phil this year, like many years in the past, gave his forecast during a major snowstorm that hit the entire Northeast. The annual event has its origin in a German legend about a furry rodent. Records dating to the late 1800s show Phil has predicted longer winters more than 100 times. The 2020 forecast called for an early spring, however, Phil didn't say anything about a pandemic. Punxsutawney Phil may be the most famous groundhog seer, but he's certainly not the only one. There are 2 other high-profile imposters, as the Punxsutawney Groundhog Club calls them, in the region. Also without fanfare, Chuckles, Connecticut's official state groundhog, will make a prediction from home, the Lutz Children's Museum in Manchester. That will also be streamed on Facebook. Chuckles X died in September, and it remains to be seen whether an anointed Chuckles 11 will emerge Tuesday. Buffalo, New York, WIVB. Buffalo's favorite groundhog has spoken and has predicted there will be 6 more weeks of winter. The event this year was certainly unlike any other. The president of the Buffalo Groundhog Day Society tells News 4 they had to adapt to meet the COVID-19 pandemic guidelines. Usually we have a giant tent party for Groundhog Day and we celebrate the holiday and donate money to animals in western New York, but of course because of the pandemic we can't do that, said Adam Hernandez, president and co-founder of the Buffalo Groundhog Day Society. Partnering with Flying Bison Brewery, Buffalo Bert is making a difference one beer at a time. With proceeds from the event going to Hawk Creek Wildlife Center. Buffalo Bert actually lives there, so he gets to help raise money and then give it all back to his friends at Hawk Creek, explained Hernandez. While other groundhog have been wrong in the past, Hernandez says Bert is a guy you can trust. Buffalo Bert is 100% accurate, so if you want to know the weather, this is the guy for you, said Hernandez. Last year he predicted 6 more weeks of winter. He was right. Punxsutawney Phil predicted an early spring. I mean it was snowing in May, so Punxsutawney Phil couldn't be more wrong, Hernandez added. SpaceX announced Monday it's aiming to launch this year the first all-civilian mission into Earth's orbit, led by a tech billionaire who plans to raffle off one of the spots aboard the craft. Entrepreneur Jared Isaacman is to be joined by 3 other novice astronauts for a multi-day journey into space, including one lucky winner of a drawing. It's a once-in-a-lifetime adventure, a journey into outer space on the first all-civilian space flight, according to a website dedicated to the mission. SpaceX, the company started by Elon Musk, said Isaacman is donating the 3 seats alongside him to individuals from the general public who will be announced in the weeks ahead. Launch of the Dragon spacecraft is being targeted for no earlier than the fourth quarter of this year, the firm said. One seat will go to a worker from St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, which treats childhood cancers and pediatric diseases, and the second is to be drawn from those who enter the raffle and are encouraged to donate to the hospital. A third will be picked by a panel of judges from entrepreneurs who use an e-commerce tool from Isaacman's company, Shift4 Payments. All 3 crew members will receive commercial astronaut training by SpaceX on the Falcon 9 launch vehicle and Dragon spacecraft, as well as orbital mechanics and stress testing, including operating in micro or zero gravity, the statement said. SpaceX says that during the multi-day mission, the astronauts will orbit Earth every 90 minutes. After the mission, the spacecraft will re-enter the atmosphere for a water landing off the Florida coast. In mid-November 2020, 4 astronauts were successfully carried into orbit by a SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule and boarded the International Space Station. The Dragon capsule had just a week prior become the first spacecraft to be certified by NASA since the Space Shuttle nearly 40 years ago. Its launch vehicle is the reusable SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. At the end of its missions, the Crew Dragon deploys parachutes and then splashes down in water, just as in the Apollo era. NASA turned to SpaceX and Boeing after shuttering the checkered Space Shuttle program in 2011, which failed in its main objectives of making space travel affordable and safe. The agency will have spent more than $8 billion on the Commercial Crew program by 2024, with the hope that the private sector can take care of NASA's needs in low Earth orbit so it is freed up to focus on return missions to the Moon and then onto Mars. In addition to the first commercial mission, SpaceX is scheduled to launch 2 more crewed flights for NASA in 2021, including one in the spring, and 4 cargo refueling missions over the next 15 months. You Really Know a Movie is a classic and has become a pop culture touchstone when it is endlessly referenced and quoted and, ultimately, ends up becoming the go-to term for a universally recognized life experience. And such is the case with the ever-delightful 1993 comedy Groundhog Day, starring Bill Murray as jaded, chauvinist and fairly misanthropic weatherman Phil Connors, who's forced to relive the same day over and over until he finally gets it right. The film was a modest success at the box office, earning about $71 million, but the embarrassment of cultural riches came later when people caught on to its rewatchable whimsy and started adopting Phil's existential conundrum as their own. Saying something is like Groundhog Day, which is today, February 2nd, cheers, has become a much-used phrase, used to describe any repetitive experience, whether it bears any resemblance to the goings-on of the film or not. Because people surely don't mean actual Groundhog Day, which hinges on whether a groundhog comes out of its burrow and sees its shadow and retreats back into the hole, 6 more weeks of winter, or doesn't, meaning spring comes early. The title of the movie references the sameness that the fabled retreat of the groundhog represents, 6 more weeks of the same old dreary cold, but Phil's journey as the calendar stops moving forward takes that sameness to a new level, one that was updated for the new millennium in Palm Springs, 2020's extremely timely addition to the different Same Day canon.